Hey everyone, it's Richard Metal Fan here, bringing you guys a brand new 2019 album review. And today we're going to be looking into the new album from the band Killswitch Engage entitled Atonement, which came out today through Metal Blade Records. Now, you might have heard of Killswitch Engage, or if you're a fan of like metalcore and stuff, these guys have been around since 1999 from Massachusetts. In my opinion, they're one of the best metalcore bands, especially around the mid 2000s with bands like them, As I Lay Dying, in Trivium, if you consider them metalcore, God forbid, Atreyu, bands of that nature. And they've been one of those first bands I've been a fan of since I was a teenager, and I still enjoy pretty much everything these guys have put out to date. Let's start with going back with their self-titled debut album, which came out in 2000, which I thought was an alright album, a decent album, but in my opinion, I feel like it's their weakest album. Not to say that it's terrible or anything, but I just feel like they've just gotten a little bit better with their second album being 2002's Alive or Just Breathing, which is in my opinion, one of the most classic metalcore albums to date. Has like some of their classics, especially the song My Last Serenade, which I thought was great. But it wasn't until around that same year, 2002 or 2003, when original vocalist Jesse Leach had left the band. I believe he was from depression and stuff. He actually left like mid-tour or something. I can't even remember the whole story. But then they picked up Howard Jones, who used to sing for the band Blood Has Been Shed. And I thought he's one of the best singers. In my opinion, that was like my introduction to Killswitch from him. And it was like before I even heard of Jesse, I first heard of Howard. And he has like a great voice. And then his first album with the band being 2004's The End of Heartache, which in my opinion is probably my favorite album of theirs. And I think that in my opinion, that sort of like brought Killswitch to what kind of like formed them into what they are now. And then we go into 2006's As Daylight Dies, and that pretty much is what brought Killswitch into, like, I believe, the mainstream. Had some of the classic songs like My Curse, The Arms of Sorrow, even their cover of Dio's Holy Diver. And then 2009's second self-titled album, or I personally would just call it Killswitch Engage 2, which I thought was another one of their weaker albums. But yeah, then we flash forward to about the beginning of 2012, where Howard Jones had left the band. I believe he was like going through health issues or something. I can't even know. But then I was wondering who's gonna sing for Killswitch Engage. But then the answer was it? Then our questions were answered when original vocalist Jesse Leach had actually rejoined the band, which I thought was wow. And then in 2013, they released Disarm to Descent, which I thought was a great album. One of my personal favorites of 2013, especially was like, yeah, they are definitely back. And their last album, 2016's Incarnate, I thought that was an okay album. It was solid. I mean, I'm not saying it's terrible, but I feel like that album, they were trying to like do stuff differently, but I feel like they were kind of doing it in a way that they shouldn't have, or I don't know, they feel like they were doing too much. But here we are with their eighth full-length album, Atonement. I was wondering, does this actually live up to Incarnate? I was like, it definitely has. Like, I honestly think it's a huge step up. And vocally, let's talk about the vocals. I mean, Jesse Leach's vocals, I think, has gotten better. I know he had a little vocal injury or surgery or something, but I just think he sounds better. Like, especially like his screams that he does is just insane. And just his cleans had really improved. I think his range has shown really great. Guitar-wise, Adam D and Joel's guitar playing is solid. I mean, Joel comes up with some really great riffs, and Adam D just holds up some really great guitar work. The bass playing is actually kind of pretty audible. Well, you could definitely, or compared to like other albums, I mean, you could definitely hear Mike D's bass a little bit. And the drumming-wise, Justin Foley can do no wrong. Great drummer. So yeah, without further ado, let's dive into this album track by track. Now, starting off the album is the song Unleashed, which is actually the first single released from this album. It starts with a nice little melody before exploding into life with a deafening roar, and we get a solid crunching riff with some wicked drumming, and the vocals start clean but mix back into like the growls. It's pretty typical stuff, but it's all good. And there's a lot of layers with the vocals too, mixing like cleans with backing vocals and vice versa. And overall, it has like a slow to mid-tempo rhythm with plenty of force and catchiness. A headbanger for sure, with plenty of emotion wrapped up in the vocals and their delivery. Then we go into The Signal Fire, which is actually a pretty cool track, and the track opens with a death growl from Jesse atop some pummeling double bass drumming, which kind of reminds me of like the song "The Hell From Me" from Disarm to Descent, except the song itself is far more memorable, and it has like a thrashy tone that sets the stage for what's to come, but also it's a strong foot forward, which actually has a guest appearance from former vocalist Howard Jones, who is currently in like this torch, which is sort of like and the song is apparently inspired by a dream Jesse had of him like scaling the mountain and lighting a signal fire, which the similarity of subject matters to name of like Howard's new band, like the torch, inspiring like the collaboration of Killswitch fans have been waiting for. And I feel like his vocals is just sounding like a dynamic slightly lower than Leach's 4 contributions. However, the moment the song drops back in with the halftime verse of Jones's like harsh vocals kicks in with a perfect reminder and the powerful of the charisma that established him as like one of the best metalcore vocalists. Up Against the World, and this song is another one of the album's quasi-ballads, about which I don't really have much to say other than to point out that the chorus, this melody strongly kind of reminds the song "A Light in the Darkened World" from the second self-titled. Nevertheless, it's a lyrical message, so hard, which like the call to arms to like know your enemy. Next song on the album is called "The Crownless King," which the track itself is another thrasher, and it actually features another guest appearance from Chuck Billy of Testament, which kind of like helps bolster the band's since they're already potent thrash metal credentials. His is a telling case of inspiration coming from Chuck. Chuck's contributions are far more reminiscent of. His vocals kind of remind me a little bit of like Randy Blythe's like hoarse hardcore growl than his own distinctive death thrash tone. It's leaving one to wonder just how him and I don't know. I can't even speak today. The song itself is really great. I love it. One of the most thrashy moments on the album. Next up is I Am Broken Too, and yet again the lyrics come across kind of like a little bit cliche, or at best underdeveloped. It's in the chorus, in which Jesse promises to reopen my wounds, all in right places of you, and just the riffing remains suitable and engaging throughout. I think, yeah. And then let's move on to the next song, As Sure as the Sun Will Rise. The track's uplifting air ends things instead of on a note as hopefully resolved, similar to like the song Hope Is from The End of Heartache, and provides a satisfying triumphant conclusion to an implied narrative of resistance that now begins with the signal fire, which is a collaborative call to arms. Know Your Enemy, which is another, kind of like The Crownless King, is like another one of the thrashiest songs on here, and I just think it really just hits you right in the face. I love this song. Take Control, which provides more of a specific and affecting exploration of anxiety. The song is almost undeniably more musically accomplished, restoring a climactic guitar solo in here, which, yeah. Ravenous, which kind of like opens with a compelling hardcore beatdown, which perhaps more than anything on Atonement, which harks back to the days of like Elaborate Just Breathing before launching the bands into like their trademark thrashy melodic death riffing. And I mentioned that Atonement's overall aesthetic recalls like Adam D's work with like the sort of like the Titans, metalcore Titans of 2002. But yeah, overall another good song. I Can't Be the Only One. The song's opening recalls like the classic Sick Alive or Just Breathing ballad My Last Serenade, which also coincidentally, but this song is like slower pace and like predominantly clean vocal delivery. Perhaps Pigeonhole is one of the most album's softer offerings. However, the track remains quite pacey and is much backed by a collection of rapid mellow death tremolo riffs, which helps maintain a consistent level of ferocity while also providing the pace of like aggressive and needs not to sacrifice in more sentimental settings. And then the album closes with Bite the Hand That Feeds, which again the guitar playing is astounding and it stands alongside like the Crownless King and the Signal Fire as one of the most album's strongest offerings. And the track builds up another frantic mellow death style tremolo riff that only builds into intensity as it approaches the chorus, which just utterly explodes. But yeah, I think it's just a great way to end the album just as well as it starts the album. Now, overall, Atonement by Killswitch Engage is a really good album. I mean, these guys can do no wrong. So I'll probably give this album a score. I'm going to give this album probably a solid 8.5 out of 10. So yep, that's my review of Atonement, guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about it, and I'll see you all in the next video. And as always, keep it metal.